Welcome to another episode of the Programmatic Digest podcast. I have the incomparable Crystal Foote on the podcast today. How you doing, Crystal?
Great. Thank you, Ellen, for having me.
I am so excited y'all, if you guys don't know Crystal, first of all, you just need to make sure you follow her right now. Pause the podcast, pause the video, go follow her on LinkedIn, all her social media. She's so outstanding. You'll figure it out. So Crystal is the CEO of a digital culture group, and she's here to talk about best practices behind targeting growth audiences. But before we even get into this, the sexy conversation here, Crystal, how about you tell us who you are, how you landed in a position you landed in, and then what's one goal you have for 2025?
All right. So I am Crystal Foote, originally from the Bay Area, lived in New York for a decade. Now I reside in Atlanta, and I am the founder of Digital Culture Group. Digital Culture Group is an amazing ad tech solutions company that helps agencies as well as brands understand how to reach those growth audiences in addition to their general market audiences. So we're here to provide really performance-based advertising with enhanced omnichannel solutions for our partners. And I landed here because I heard a whisper. I heard something in my heart and in my stomach. It was fire to create this company because I saw that agencies as well as brands weren't doing it right. And there wasn't an opportunity for them to do it right because Digital Culture Group was in it.
Yes.
So I created Digital Culture Group to make sure that we were giving that expertise to the brands, to the agencies to do it the right way in terms of reaching those audiences and helping them reach those conversion goals, helping them reach those awareness goals.
That is so dope.
Thank you. And for my 2025 goal, I will say is to really expand my ecosystem.
Okay.
I believe when a really strong ecosystem is when you're the most successful. And I see people who, networking events and things like that. And it's not just about networking, it's about connecting. And so I really expand my ecosystem of very marketers and founders in the industry and really help each other out because at the end of the day, we need each other.
That's true. And I love that you said, you touch on that networking piece because that is a goal that I set myself for last year. I said, okay, well then our education consultancy, as you may know, have thrived on referrals and word of mouth. And so I told myself early 2023, actually, can you imagine if I start pitching people that don't know about me? And so it took it took a lot of months to learn different testing. And I feel like I know for a fact that connecting in person, like that networking, even sometimes virtual, works very well, is what took us to a different level, like a different bracket.
Right.
So if you are listening to this podcast or even the cast on YouTube, make yourself uncomfortable and do go to a networking event. And it don't even have to be like ad tech and programmatic specific. Maybe for career purposes, yes. But go to, I don't know, to like a leadership one, go to like a R one, go to like a Black conference, like Black Tech Afro Tech happenings among the US throughout the year, I think. And so just do something, get yourself out there. And if you're not comfortable getting yourself out there for health reason, family reason, because I have 2 little ones, so it's a different level. Virtual is fine. Connect with people on LinkedIn. Tell them hey, I'm just trying to figure out if there's synergy and collaboration. And people love to help people. Okay. So get yourself out there this year. This is me and Crystal's you. Put
Right.
yourself out there.
Yes.
Out there. And you want to touch on something you said about having a vision and listening and taking action, which is something we here at the podcast and with every one of my clients, it's something I preach. You cannot just get the knowledge and just let it sit in your library brain. You got to dust it off and take action on it. Otherwise, it's just wasted. And so let's talk about some of the actions you take over in your career. And then we'd love to hear a little bit about the targeting capabilities. But what did you, where were you before Digital Cultural Group? How, did you go to college? Did you wake up when you were 6 years old and told your parents, you need to work in ad tech? How'd that happen?
Yes. So actually, true story. I was in high school. We would go way back in high school, and I was watching Two Can Play That Game. And Vivica A. Fox's character, Shantae, was a marketing ad tech exec. And she was so amazing to me. She was classy, she was smart, she was savvy. And I looked at this movie and I said, I want to be her when I grow up. Because
Yeah.
I wasn't really used to the marketing or advertising industry at all because I didn't know anyone in that industry,
Sure.
right? It wasn't like it is today. We didn't have digital, we didn't have social media back then when I was growing up. So that's how old I am, right?
You talk about growing up in the early 2090s. That's where I grew up. I'm not claiming this old thing, but continue.
I'm
Excuse
an 80s baby, but yes. So we didn't have any of that. But
me.
I loved what she did. It seemed like it was fun. It seemed like it was analytical at the same time. So I went to college and pursued that dream. And I went to college in New York because I felt like that was the mecca
Mhm.
at that time of advertising and marketing. And I had such an incredible experience. From New York, I gained so much knowledge on the agency side. I came to Atlanta and continued my agency track, but then I was like, "You know what? What's happening hood?" Like, I wanted intricacies of, like, programmatic. So, I switched over to the sales side so I can really understand what was happening, under the hood, and it helped me a lot because I saw, bidding ways to reach audiences and those type of intricacies.
Yeah.
So, from there, being in it's really an entrepreneur role
Yep.
because you have to be creative to get new clients. You have to come up with like these marketing for them to fight and want to partner with you.
Yeah.
And you build relationships. And I'm really big, Ellen, on relationships. And so I realized, you know what, from me, I can have any company right in the back. It can say, crystals, but the relationships that I built were so strong and so meaningful. Again, I had that desire in my heart, those butterflies in my stomach to say, do this yourself because you know what is needed in this industry. There is a huge gap in agencies and brands trying to reach these growth audiences and even trying to understand the nuances of general market audiences.
Yeah.
So, Digital Culture Group, and that push allowed me to create Digital Culture Group and develop a company to what it is now, award winning. And we actually just got an award last week from Gibbs Lee's. That is, yeah, the winner values based vendor in the industry.
Oh, that's so dope. Congratulations. Well,
Thank
like I am for y'all. I want to root for you. I think the work that
you.
you're doing in the industry is needed. It's not heard of. Oh, at least not heard of enough. And good. I love that. I love that. Congratulations. And I want to highlight also something you said, right? Because I think a good segue into our conversation, which is growth audience targeting, which is one of your core capabilities as an ad tech. And what I love of what you said is like you watched a Vivek A. Fox movie, even though it wasn't about ad tech. The role that she held marked you as in your career and pretty much paved the rest of the career path for you, right? And for me, when I heard that, I was like, wow, how important is representation
Exactly.
in our communities, but also in any communities, honestly. Like you see it all over the world. This I think the Moana is one of the most watched, the most whatever gross movies, one and two, is because of the representation it was able to really portray. And many other movies. I just watched Moana 2. That's why I'm bringing it up. But many other illustration and films. I think I know that I love what you're doing and your mission behind Digital Culture Group. So talk to us about the mission and talk to us about like maybe some of the audience targeting capabilities that you have because you were one of our sponsors last workshop. So shout out to y'all.
Thank
And
you.
the amount of insight you brought in terms of like targeting growth the right way was phenomenal. And we had a lot of feedback. So I want the rest of the audience that's listening and watching to get the same value. So talk to us a little bit about the mission and then the targeting.
Yeah, representation is very important, right? Because without representation, you don't get that diverse background as to how to reach these audiences and in the most authentic way.
Yeah.
So for our campaigns, for example, we're on a general market campaign, right? But we'll do an analysis prior to see how these audiences are engaging and if there are any trends that we can pull from campaigns previously in terms of websites visited, TV that are viewed.
Yeah.
And from there, we want to provide as much information as possible to the client beforehand to say, hey, we have this core audience, but did you also consider this growth audience because we are seeing trends of media consumption behaviors that will, I think if we dedicate some budget to this, will really help your campaigns drive in terms of ROAS, ROI, conversions, or just overall awareness. So with that, we services if you want in language, creative.
Oh,
I
wow.
am, yeah, I'm really been invested a lot of time on rich media creative and providing that service, where we have English to Spanish or English to Korean type of language in the act creative.
Yeah.
We also, provide opportunities as well to tap into voices of communities that they are in. And we want to make sure that, again, it's authentic because when it's authentic, it resonates. And when it resonates, that's when you see conversions, right?
Yeah.
That's when you see revenue. So everything for us is tied to, of course, revenue, performance outcomes. And when we back into it to see what drives that, it's really authenticity. It's really connection with the audience. And I feel like a lot of times people forget that, especially in ad tech. They're like, oh, you're trying to reach this audience? Go on these websites, use this targeting, and it's it. But it's deeper than that. It's so much deeper than that. And we are the only woman-owned and minority-owned ad tech company in the country. So we bring a different perspective to our clients. Like, hey, no, now moms go on parents.com, right? Do you, Ellen, you 2 kids under 5, parents.com?
Sorry, my math was not mathing. I was like, do we? Do I?
Right.
It's a great website. I don't instantly default to that. That's
correct. Because there are so many other things about you that make up Ellen Parker, right? So many psychographic, behavioral thinking that makes who you are today. So we need to tap into that and not going a very monolithic route or a stereotypical route just because I have a title. And that one title, I have a lot of different titles that I have, right? I wear a lot of different hats as a mother, as a wife, as an executive, as a founder, right? As a woman. So I think that once we step away from monolithic approaches, right, in the industry as a whole, that's when we can really understand audiences truly and how to reach them.
Man, that's so many gems. I can't even. It's so many gems. If you are a book, because I'm a big book reader, right? I listen to Audible. It's all good. Highlighted a lot of that. And it's so good. The whole damn page would have been pink or yellow. I want people to realize that the way our industry has grown, like I remember as a trader having to build specific tactics or groups or line items, let's say, in my DSP only to try to target this growth audience because it was so different. Like, listen to that. I used to have 2 to 3 behavioral targeting small business owner, but I will say, well, if it's a Hispanic, Latinx, Latino, Latina restaurant owner, he can't this pool. He don't go to parent.com like that kind of stuff. So I used to separate it and manually curate some of this inventory for that audience. But at that time, creative was not it was always important, but it wasn't as big of a focus for some of the agency I worked with. So unfortunately, it was the same creative for all audiences. And you just mentioned that it shouldn't. The way you communicate with, and again, and I learned that the hard way. Okay, but the one from Miami, like a Spanish from Miami, is different than a Spanish speaker from New York. Okay, and it's the Spanish speaker from actually Puerto Rico, Dominica. It's different, and that's okay, and that makes it beautiful. Now you're probably listening and saying and I don't know if I can have 6 to 7 ad group targeting all different Spanish cultures that lives in the U.S., which is probably more. Hear me out. This is just an example, y'all. Don't get in my DM. I'm just using this example. But no, you call Crystal and her team, and that's how they can automate some of that. We talk about AI, we talk about automation, which I still think that AI in our industry stands for automated intelligence, not yet artificial intelligence. I don't think we're there yet. Maybe it's another conversation for you there. But I think it's important. So talk to us about those people that are saying it's just easy to just put them all in the same tactic right now and just make it happen. How can them understand no, you do have to take that extra step?
I mean, honestly, for they were like, oh, it's just easy to put them all in the same bucket. It's also easy to lose money, right?
She preached.
So we're not here for a brand to lose money. And I would definitely reconsider who is reaching this audience from an ad tech standpoint, from a hands-on key standpoint, if that's their mindset. It happens, right? And we had a campaign working with an agency, very smart agency on the West Coast.
Yeah.
And they had a standard general market campaign. But the founder of the agency said, based on brand that we're advertising for is located, we have a great opportunity to also reach the AAPI community. And not only that, we're going to create sub audiences for this AAPI community. So we're going to do in language for Korean, Japanese. We're also going to do in language for Chinese, for Vietnamese, because of the demographics that lived in that region. Crystal, can you and your team do that? Yes, we can. And we can also help you build out this creative as well if you have the right creative in terms of the talent in the creative. And then we can help you with those translation services, put that on the banners. And so they had the right talents. We put those in language messaging on the banners, and it outperformed the general market campaign because, again, representation in the creative to the audience that we were reaching and the foot traffic that we had more than doubled for the AAPI campaign versus the general market campaign.
Oh man, that's so good. I think we tend to forget that we are consumers first.
Correct.
Human first. And we tend to put a lot of focus on that latest technology or what is the end goal, that shmoney out of the campaign, that KPI. But all of these will check off correctly if you do spend the time to understand the audience, study the audience, research on the dang audience, but also like put yourself in their shoes. Like I think I'm second generation immigrant. I wasn't born here. I understand more than one language. I speak more than one language. I'm married to an American. And there's a lot of culture that are similar here in the US, where we are far enough from home, but we still have home in our hearts, in our home, right? And so, and what I mean by that is that the way you would communicate with a second, first, third generation is even so much different. And they all sometimes live in the same household. And like all of these allows us to, I don't know if personalize on a one-on-one basis yet, and maybe you can correct me here, but at least you can come close to communicating with that family, knowing that this is happening in their homes. And now we don't have multi-generational, family members here, right? It's just me and my husband and my two kids. But back home, it's different, right? It's just in Virginia, where most of my family is, different. My sister, my mom, and the nieces, you know what I mean? And so it's like taking that extra to do audience research before. And I'm going to do a shameless plug right here, but our next workshop is going to be on strategy and media planning. And I have an outstanding instructor that I'll announce in the next couple of weeks coming in, and she's going to teach us like how to take and analyze that audiences from a media planning perspective. But that's also something you can do. And that's also something that I don't think as traders, as buyers, we own very well. We'll just go off of that media plan and then do it.
Yeah.
Don't even question why. And we know it doesn't make sense. So like what Crystal is not to be just good. You're first of all, you're born to be great. That's not about this. But don't just be good at stuff. Just go great. Take that extra step. Go find it by yourself. Go do this done research. If your agency or your work or your team or your AD or your director is trying to limit, don't allow that. Go do it on your own. Go find out and then come back with some perfects, right? Come back audience insight. Talk about audience insight, Crystal. I had the pleasure of saying like your magic, but like, can you show a little bit of like what kind of insight you're able to give back?
Yeah, definitely. And can we also just real quick?
Yeah, tell me.
Not about race, ethnicity when it comes to understanding an audience, right? It can also be about generations. It can also be about psychographic information. For example, I got the most amazing, and I tell everybody this in every meeting I have, the most amazing ad that I have received in a very long time from a financial institution. And I was working, as an entrepreneur, like around 11:30, and I was listening to work jazz on Spotify. And actually, no, it wasn't Spotify, it was on Pandora. I was listening to work jazz on Pandora.
Yeah.
I received an ad, and the ad started off with saying, "Hey, I see you're working late because you want to reach those dreams, that have to be successful, relax in retirement. We are here to help you. and I stopped what I was doing. I looked around because it was kind of scary, right? Because I was like, who's this? And so I looked down my screen, I saw this ad, and I was like, wow. I knew that I was a founder or an executive.
Mhm.
I knew I was working late because I was listening to work jazz.
Yeah.
And it targeted so precisely. It resonated with me. And I said, I love this. This is smart advertising,
Yes, it is. This is how it's
right?
supposed to be.
Right. It used day parting. It
Mhm.
used the right targeting.
Yeah.
And now I will forever remember that bank because of the ad. And I tell everybody all the time about this. But when I tell people that, they're like, oh, we can use audio this way
Yes,
with different.
sleep on audio. You get so excited about CTV and then you complain about the pricing and then you realize like, is this not supposed to be premium inventory? It's really not. And then you forget about audio. Don't sleep about my audio, people.
Don't sleep on audio because it's so easy. You don't need any assets. All you need is a voiceover, really.
That's
That's
it.
it.
That's all it is. You don't have to complicate things. You don't have to.
Right, exactly. So I love audio for that. And I feel like people sleep on it. They don't use it enough and they don't understand the power of the different triggers you can use, like weather, day parting, a financial institution. So many things that you can use to communicate to your audience to make it feel more customized.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. And with you, that I want everybody to pay attention is that she said as a small business owner, actually you're not a small business owner anymore. As a founder and business owner, excuse me, she was working late, doing her thing, and she got targeted this audiences, right? You probably worked for what, couple hours, 11 p.m. to what?
No.
Yeah, okay.
Like,
You
so-
don't want y'all to know that not because of something that, and we'll get to screen right now, but something that traders do is automatically sometimes exclude overnight hours. Like they'll even seen traders just exclude 11 p.m. all the way until 6 a.m. for all of their campaign. Sometimes it makes sense for some D2C clients, some B2C client, some B2B client, even for some, it does brands, but it does not make sense for all. Like Crystal as a business owner is working late. If she was a decision maker and you missed an opportunity, added that. And so I want you to know that yes, sometimes you can exclude overnight hours to keep fraudulent activities at the minimum, but don't blank standardize that stuff. Boom, let's do it. Like, please don't, y'all. Make me analyze the data, pull the report, the parts thing, like look at the stuff, add a little bit more filters during those time if you need to. But you're right. And just real quick to close this loop and go into the insight that you're about to share. When I work for a fintech company, well, I work with a fintech company brand. And we discovered based on their audiences that most small business owners were doing most of their research random ass hours of the day, and sometime late night. Most of the decision to go ahead and apply for that loan, that business loan, payroll, advanced cash, whatever it was, happened at hours like 2 a.m. to like 5 a.m. Okay. So can you imagine a fintech company for financial services and then your trader is excluding that window where that small business up super early or up very late, making decision like, oh my gosh, I need to pay my people by Friday. We need cash right now. You know what I mean? So like, make sure you don't date every standardization. It's okay to like do your research first, media consumption, which if you're listening to the podcast on Apple, Spotify, you won't be able to see your screen. So I'll make sure the YouTube link in the description so you can see. But Crystal is sharing a little bit of the insight, like audience insight that she's able to provide. The ad tech is able to provide to her client. So talk to us like real quick on this. Like, what are we looking at?
Yes. So you're looking at audience insights that we utilize for our campaigns.
Mm-hmm.
And audience insights is based on a research panel. We partner with an amazing research company to help us with demographic information, brand information, information, whatever they're able to tap into this research panel and the outputs, include demographic highlights, so psychographic information, but it allows us to paint a better picture of who we're trying to reach and how we should reach them. So we do know, if we are not. So we know what are their psychological drivers in how it aligns with the brand or a competitive set that the brand has. Prior to campaigns, really helps us build a strong strategy, helps us build a strong proposal in reaching that audience. We also can understand their media consumption habits as well. What apps they have on their phone, what social media networks skew higher for this audience, what newspapers and magazines read, right? Paid streaming subscriptions. So that way we're not guessing, we're taking the guesswork out and we know exactly how to reach them, how to engage with them. But not only that, we're able to place a pixel in our banners. So we know who's also engaging with the banners, who's clicked on it, who's seen the banners to help us understand how to make tweaks throughout the campaign and really get great results. To be honest with you, Ellen, it's funny. So we have amazing results for our campaigns and clients question sometimes, why is this so good?
Oh my
Like,
God.
what are you guys
Too
doing?
good to be true.
I'm like, because we understand the audience.
Yeah.
Because we do due diligence the campaign launch to understand how to reach them and where they are.
Yeah.
And they're like, wow, like this is different. And it shouldn't be different, right? Every ad tech provider, every programmatic trader should be doing this, but it's not the standard.
Yeah, it's not the standard. No, because we tend to go for, again, the bright, shiny object. I'm sorry, I'm just going to say this, y'all, whether you agree with me, but that bright, shiny objects don't always take account of every audience's, period. There is a very particular, actually, tech companies that I know for a fact, they don't care. They just don't care. And so it's up to us as people of the ad tech companies to raise that question and be like, we actually do have to take an effort. We are all different. We have similarities, but we also have very, very, very key nuances, the difference between wasted dollars and invested dollars and return on your ad investment. And so I don't know about y'all, but it's a no-brainer for me. Like, you need additional help. And Crystal and her are ready to rock and roll. Again, if you are listening to this, you didn't get the chance to watch to look at the slide she had, but like the audience were specific, high index on this. But like most of the time, I always tell y'all, get on the call with your partners and your vendors, whether it's a sales team, whether it's the ad ops team on that them who was under the hood. And she just answered. One of the main ways she measures and track and really package it all is via that pixel on the creative. And don't you have access also to growth audience publishers and media owners as well?
We do, yes. So we have minority owned and operated. So it can be woman owned. We can have veteran owned, African American, Black, Latino. We have API. So we have opportunities for that. And we also run on ComScore 5,000 because it's very important, again, not to put a certain audience in a box, right? To reach us, Ellen, you can reach me on New York Times and you can reach me on Yahoo. And you can also reach me on Essence sometimes, you know? So making sure you don't say, oh, based on just one title that you might have, I'm just going to reach you on this channel only. That is a waste of money. And also, if you look at the audience makeup of that website, if you're not targeting correctly, you can be targeting the wrong audience. And that's why your click-through rate is low. That's why your conversion rate is low, right? So make sure that you're targeting specifically by the audience you're trying to reach and not just by publication only, unless you're trying to do an awareness play, right? So if you're trying to do an awareness play and everybody on that website is your consumer, then go ahead, do that. But if you have high KPIs that you need to hit, then make sure the targeting is intact or else it's going to fail.
And like, listen, honey, like this is where Programmatic is about. It's
Right.
at the right time, the right people, at the right moment, with the right message, at the right cost, whatever you want to say it. This is the fundamental of Programmatic. Every single media person in this industry have said this at least one time, and I want to bet you $5 they did. Right time, right audience, right cost, and usually ask right message or whatever.
Yeah.
At the right time, whatever. We all said that. So why are we playing games? Why can't we just do things? Sometimes I feel like we love to overcomplicate things. And sometimes I still think we're stuck on the we can do it better ourselves. But there's a very, very amazing book called Who Now by, it's right there. I can't remember the author's name. but it's who, not how. In this book, the author specifically speaks on the fact that you can learn all these skill sets, but somebody learns it, does it way better than you. And the way you succeed is connecting. I mean, you talked about relationship, connecting the geniuses around you to do their best work, like their work within their excellence. And then as a leader, you can connect them, lead, and learn from them, right? But like, you don't have to be associate director, VP of whatever, be a leader. I believe that every single one of us can be a leader.
Oh, 100%.
And so you can connect. You can admit that I'm going to learn this with this person who does it so well and let them take the lead, give them the credit they deserve, and then continue learning with them. That is what leadership is about. Like, let's not forget this. Start delegating this stuff that we don't think we're good at, and then work truly in partnership. Like, there's a reason why she's with these companies and brands to help them, and she got stuff receipts for it, right? Like Barbara Burnett from Colossus on a webinar, she was like the young
I love her.
She said, okay, say show them the receipts. I was like, oh, not the young kids, Barbara. I say that sometimes. I'm 80s too, okay, maybe. But anyway, so show them the receipt, show them the Carfax, and let the geniuses do their genius work, and you can continue connect, and you go do your genius work. It's that simple. And on this note, we're gonna wrap it up. Okay, because I want to honor Crystal's time. But before, listen, Crystal, I think we can easily talk 2 hours because you are truly the expert in this game. Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I think that something so bigger and way bigger and again bigger coming your way, and people are going to realize like, shucks, I should have been. I always say this: there's always a reward for being an early adopters. So y'all, today's pricing is not going to be tomorrow's, and it wasn't yesterday's. So tap into this opportunity to do better work for our brands, but for the consumers, because at the end of the day, we do this for them or to them. So leave us with a wisdom, Crystal, please. Like, what is something you wish you learned? Well, you wish you knew then that you now know. Like, what would you tell freshmen in this industry, like early on in your career? Like, don't worry, be this or this.
Yeah, I would say, don't worry, fearless. Fearless. For me, I don't know as a definite answer.
You're like my daughter. She's like, no, so not right now, Mom.
Right.
No, Jade. So maybe later. Jade, no.
I love her. She's tired. Tell her she can come our summer.
Yeah, she's fine. And I'm trying not to dim her light. And I'm like, let me think about it. But right now, okay? She'll be like, okay, Mom.
You change from to not right now, right?
I sure did.
And as a leader in this industry, you have to take on opportunities as, you know what, maybe it's not the right fit right now, but let me call you next week. Let me call you next month. I'm going to see you again, right? Yeah. Or let me be creative because I love when I'm challenged. So if you tell me no, I'm going to find out why. And I'm going to come up with a creative solution to turn that no into a hell yes.
Yeah, that's good.
So be fearless, right? Don't take no as the end all be all. If I did that, I wouldn't be who I am today. So be fearless and go out there and get it. Go get it.
And it's muscle, like it's called being resilient. Like it's a muscle that you have to develop. You don't just wake up being resilient 1000%. You have to develop the fact that sometime when you receive the no, it gonna hurt. It's going to pull you down into this dark place. Maybe allow yourself to be there a little bit, but then move back. Move out, go do something else. And don't allow that one no to really define your identity. Don't allow no to be like, it was a mistake and now I live within this mistake. That's not it. That's not what we're about. Like what Crystal said is like, as many no's as you can, because there's always, all you need is one yes. That's all you need. One yes. Okay. And I think there's, I don't remember the book of the author actually. I think it was like for every 17 no's, there's a yes or something like that. Oh, 21 no's, there's a yes. It was a small business owner who went for a bank loan and his business model. And like 21 banks said no. And the 22nd said yes or something like that. I was like, can you imagine going 21 times to ask for money and they say, no, we don't believe in your mission. We don't believe in this vision. It's not going to work. But he kept going.
Right. And then probably became a billionaire.
Yes, it's a very, I wish I remember things a little better. Very, very recent too. Anyway,
It'll come back to you.
times. This is gonna come back to me.
Right.
Times. That's crazy. And so I told you in 2023,
I do that all the time.
I had to learn how to say, I had to learn that no means maybe not right now and trust God's timing. And y'all know I talk about God in this podcast. So if you don't believe in God, you're still welcome. Welcome. We can coexist. Just read the universe or something you want to believe in. But I believe in God's timing. And when God's timing says no, it hurts. You just got to keep going.
That's
you can
right.
allow yourself a break. I think I do think it's here just to, mend a little bit of your heart in the way it's not going to hurt, but don't stay too long. Keep going. You got to keep moving. And that's why discipline will always overcome, in my opinion, motivation. Always.
I agree. You know what I do if I'm feeling like that, if someone says no, and for that split second, I'm like, ugh, that kind of hurt. You have to give back to somebody.
Oh, wow.
Because it makes me feel good to bring joy to somebody, even though an hour prior I wasn't feeling good in that space. I say, oh, what can I do to someone's day?
Wow.
And so I'll give a gift card to a client. I'll things stay brighter.
Yeah.
And then in turn, it helps me as well heal and say, all right, let me get back to it.
Wow. Look at Crystal. She's done this for years, and she just admitted that sometimes it still hurts, and that's okay.
That's okay. We're human.
Crystal, I'm gonna do this, because I'll be seeing a lot on this month, and I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna start giving back. Now that I stop, I don't give back, but in that moment, I'm gonna intentionally do it.
Yes. Yes.
It's remarkable, and also highlight that you are an author before we close the podcast. Talk to us. Children's book.
Yes, the Inclusivity Superheroes, a tale of diversity and unity. I created it because what we do in our industry typically stays within our industry, right? No one really knows the impact you're making in terms of, whether you're reaching growth, advertising about inclusivity. And so I said, how can I get that message out there? And I realized that I do a lot of education with my adult clients, right? I tell them about the importance of growth audiences, educate the nuances of different types of culture.
Yeah.
And I said, if that could start at an earlier age,
oh wow,
a child, the less education that I have to do or people after me will have to do. And so I created this children's book to really help people understand the importance of it. And I put it in a way where it was digestible. So it talks about superheroes, because as superheroes, you have different special abilities and, superpowers. And with those needed, right? No superpower is better than the other. And so that's how it was easily digestible. And then I also included a real life example of a marketing type of, isn't there a challenge?
Representation.
But I won't give too much away. But it was well received. And
of course, you got awards from it. You got interviews on the television, on morning shows. Okay, I watch everything. And you know what? My daughter's school, which is Catholic school, and I absolutely love them. There's some diversity be done maybe a little bit more. They're working on it though, because I'm there too, letting them know they need to work on it. But they invited me to read a book, and I think I'm gonna get it and then go read your book, because I have the books I was gonna read was definitely going to be about a black or brown little girl, little boy in the book, something. Okay, but I'm gonna order it and do it. And if you're interested, I will go ahead and add everything in the show notes of this podcast and on the YouTube description. And then you can also catch her on LinkedIn. Thank you so much, Crystal. I know we're a little bit over time, but it was so worth it. The amount of wisdom you just share, I think it's super inspiration. You have our love, you have our encouragement as always. Thank you so much for my time.
And thank you for this platform. Kudos to you for and making this platform for entrepreneurs and executives to tell their story. You're doing so much in this industry. So with, the free training that you to this podcast. So I appreciate you. Keep on doing what you're doing and, forget the no's, your incredible work, and on them for not seeing that vision, but eventually they will. And they're going to come crawling back to you and say, hey, let's do this and that. So
I receive it. Thank you so much. Thank you, Crystal.
Thank you.